He's in the chair. He can go. Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and you know what? Today we have something for you that you will be delighted to learn about. Has anybody ever criticized you? Oh, they have. What about, have you ever criticized someone else? What can we do about it? Well, today we have Dr. Jean Lebedun, I can say that, Lebedun, Dr. Jean Lebedun, who she's here in Huntsville and Birmingham and Huntsville again, primarily representing Career Track. And she talked to us about how to present a professional image. And there are so many, but that was 8 hours. That was from 8:15 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. And I didn't think that Chuck Tatum would let us stay on Victory Network that many hours, so we just decided to take a little excerpt out of it and let you enjoy and learn from it too. And if you'd like to know more, then by all means you can get in touch with us here at the station, 461-8148, and also we will help you with an 800 number to Career Track, and you can find out when they're going to be back again or where they're going to be next, maybe Atlanta or Nashville or one of the other areas, that you can just jog over there and learn more about this professional image. They have a little welcome to Victory Network and Vision Plus.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's great to be with you.
Is it all right if I call you Jean?
I hope you will.
Okay.
It's much easier to say than Lebedun.
I know when you were teaching in college, the students weren't allowed to do that, I'm sure.
That's right. The college days are way behind us.
It was such a delightful experience to talk, to listen to you, and to interact with all of the almost 300 people.
Yes.
And I understand 400 the day before.
That's
and
right.
300 or so, or 400 tomorrow, the next day. So that's exciting. That tells me that a lot of people are wanting to grow and be the best that they can be. Now, just quickly tell me a little bit about Jean Lebedun.
I'm from Kansas City, and I work for Career Track, which is the largest seminar company in the United States. The company is headquartered in Boulder, but if you're a speaker with Career Track, it doesn't matter where you live. So I live in Kansas City, and they'll send me a plane ticket, and they'll say you're going to Birmingham or Huntsville to give your seminar. Career Track is dedicated to helping people's careers grow, and it's an exciting company to be with because of all the skills we present: time management, good supervision, how to handle difficult people. So we have a number of topics that are very exciting.
My husband needs that one because he has to deal with me, how to deal with difficult people.
How to deal with difficult people. Isn't that a dandy?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we will just focus a little bit. Let me hear a little bit about you. You taught in college, and you are, I guess then we can say you're a professor, you're a doctor, but you also worked in a hospital.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I was a college teacher for about 7 years, and I taught English, and I have a PhD in English. And then I went to work in a hospital to be the director of the education department in a hospital. I found out in the hospital they're not going to call you doctor unless you're a real doctor. And being a PhD, it's not a real doctor. But I enjoyed very much being in the healthcare world, and for the last 10 years, this is what I've done, giving seminars and self-help programs, because people are so hungry for this. They want skills, they want to know more and be more effective in their jobs, with their families, in personal relationships, in interactions with other people.
And it's not just here in the United States.
That's right.
You were in England?
Yes. In the last 3 years, I've been privileged to travel around the world and give these seminars. And I've been humbled by that, but also learned a lot, because I would always think, well, this subject won't work very well. And I've been very touched to find out that the human skills translate. This goes around the world. We have very much the same concerns in various countries. The one that really scared me, I was going to teach in Hong Kong a seminar on assertiveness for secretaries. And I thought, well, Asian secretaries must be very gentle people. They're not going to go for assertiveness. But it turned out it worked beautifully, because assertiveness means I conduct myself in a way that respects your rights and I respect my rights. And it worked beautifully. It fit into their cultural needs very, very well. And that's good to know, that we have a lot to share with each other.
And you probably found, I got to speak in some other countries in Sweden, I had to cut all my material in half. And you get to say, and what I thought was fun, if you told something that was humorous, well, the people who understood English could laugh then, and then the one that was interpreting after he said it, well, then they laughed again.
That's true. Humor, for my presentations, did not translate. I had to just put that aside because I realized so much of my humor depended on regional understandings, or actually, we speak American, not English. That's what we're doing right now. So that kind of humor is very much dependent on an inside knowledge of the language. In my presentations, different than yours in other countries, I was not using an interpreter. Everybody in the audience knew that it would be in English. But I still know what you mean, that you have to cut your material down, because you must speak slowly and clearly. I have a hillbilly accent, being from Missouri, and so I've got to speak very clearly to get myself across in other countries.
Well, you know, one of the things that we are facing so much, because people are being more assertive, that even in the South, people are being bold to criticize you more quickly, where there was a time when the graciousness of the ladies wouldn't criticize other people, and the graciousness of a man didn't criticize. But now we don't have time to use all of those gracious moments as much as, hey, if we feel something, we say it. So how in the world could we control our criticism? First of all, what are some of the criticisms that you think are current today?
I agree with you entirely, Bonnie. This is a world with a lot of criticism, and people are bold and they are assertive, and sometimes they've even gotten that message too strongly. And if they've been to an assertiveness program or they've read a book, they think, well, the more honest I am, the more open I am, the better. And that is part of the problem, that we need to have some kindness and some caring and some tactfulness along with being open. And I'm not in favor of being dishonest. It's just that I think honesty alone is not enough of a reason to open your mouth. I'm finding that this topic that I give, how to give and take criticism, is the most popular one. This is what people ask for more than any of the others that I present. And criticism does ring a bell with them. And they know that they are being criticized a lot. And they also know that they are called upon to criticize others. If you're a manager, if you're a neighbor, you're in an association with somebody, a club, there's some things you need to tell them for progress. It's for improvement. We're not criticizing others legitimately for any reason than to say, let's get better. Let's get better.
Well, give me some examples of how to give criticism and receive criticism.
The most effective way to receive criticism, let's start there. If I know that you're going to give me a criticism, I hear this coming out of your mouth, you tell me some fault about my clothing, I should have worn something different. The first thing I need to have inside my head is the question, what can I learn from this criticism? What can I learn from this criticism? And that focuses me on getting something positive out of it. A lot of people ask, well, how can I gain self-control? Self-control, when you're receiving criticism, comes from mental programming. And so you can respond with that sentence, what can I learn from this criticism? That's to take the place of a lot of other things we might be thinking, like, this isn't fair, or she has no right to say that. And you know what? Those things might be true. You might criticize me unfairly, maybe it wasn't your right to do it. I can still learn from it. And that is such a powerful thing to know, because some of the people I have contact with will not be particularly kind, will not be tactful. I can learn from them even so. So that's the first thing, to program for myself, what can I learn from this criticism? And I've found there's something to be learned from every criticism. Something to be learned. Mostly because I find out how you perceive me. And maybe I didn't realize how I'm coming across. So I need to know, in getting some feedback, how you perceive me. That's the value of criticism. Here's a second step after this mental programming. You ask the critic for some specifics. Now, most of the time, they criticize us real generalized. Like you might say, you don't like what I'm wearing, or maybe you don't like the way I conducted the business meeting today. and I need to ask you, could you give me an example? Could you be specific? And I'm helping you be a good communicator, and only then do I pin down what you are really talking about. And that's very key in receiving criticism. It also helps me not to be defensive. When I ask you for specifics, I'm not defending myself, I'm gaining information. I've got to understand your criticism before I can respond to it. Very important. Understand it before you evaluate it.
And sometimes, isn't it possible, Jean, that when someone criticizes you and according to how you react or what you say, or maybe even if you just look at them like they say, oh, I was just kidding, I was just joking.
Yes.
But really, if they said it, isn't it possibly true that they really weren't joking? That there was a nugget in there that they wanted to get across to you, and that's this defense that they don't want to anger you. Okay.
I agree with you. They might say they're joking, I didn't mean it, I was only kidding. You know, most of the things we hear from people are symbolic of what they really mean. And it's not that they're speaking in code on purpose. They're not trying to trick us. But usually there's something even bigger that they are talking about. And that's why I like so much the technique of listening between the lines. That if you did give me a criticism, I would listen as much as I could with my heart, not just with my ears. But I'd wonder, now, what's really going on between me and Bonnie? Maybe I'm irritating you.
I'm jealous because you're so beautiful.
And we could find out.
You could wear pink and I don't wear it so well.
That's fun to find out what's underneath this, what's underneath this. And it's not that I'm trying to psychoanalyze the person I'm talking to, but just realize there are a lot of things hard for people to say. Maybe they've not consciously thought of it. So I take most of the comments people make verbally as symbolic of something else. And they might slough it off, as you say, with, oh, that's just a joke. There's a grain of truth in everything they say. And there's certainly something for me to learn in everything that they say.
Okay, that's receiving.
Receiving criticism. You can always learn from it.
So the steps would be primarily that you go
think about, what can I learn from this criticism? Ask them some specifics, and then determine how you can implement what you've learned from what they have told you. It may not be exactly what they told you that you decide to change about your behavior, but you can learn something. You can make some little adjustment that makes you benefit from the criticism.
How about giving criticism?
Giving criticism. Now, let's put this in
I'd love to be able to do that occasionally with a few people I know.
Well, I understand that, Bonnie, and sometimes I give this seminar where it's husbands and wives in the program, how to give and take criticism, and they'll usually laugh and say, one spouse came for half of this, and the other spouse came from the other half. And I never ask them which one came from which half. Let's put this in the T file, how to give criticism. Tactful. Tact is the art of making a point without making an enemy. So if I make a point
without making an enemy.
That's it, making a point. And that's what we present in these communication seminars. How you can make a point to somebody, but have them not be defensive about it, have them listen to it. Sometimes we have bad news to tell people. It's not always what they want to hear, but we can say it in a way that they will still listen to it. Now, this is true for the parents, for the people that go on their jobs. They need to tell others some mistakes and some problems. And to do that tactfully is a very big skill. Let me give you an example. Let's picture a boss. We'll make this a man boss. He comes out of his office, he's waving these papers, and he goes over to the secretary. He says, you are a sloppy...
I guess this is a female secretary.
Well, we'll make her a female secretary.
Okay.
All right. And he says to her, you are a sloppy typist. Now, that's not tactful, and there are 3 reasons. Number 1, it is a personal attack because he said you are a sloppy typist. Number 2, it is not tactful because it's too general. Sloppy typist, well, it doesn't say exactly where the errors were. That's why that kind of criticism hurts so much. And third, it is not tactful because it doesn't tell her what to improve. it just labels her with this dreadful identity, sloppy typist. Now, no wonder somebody's going to be upset with criticism stated like that. That is very, very negative. So let's do an instant replay, and we'll have the boss come out. Would you be happier if we made this a woman boss?
No,
and
we'll
a man
leave it.
secretary?
No, let's leave it now that we're going to correct it. Let's don't change anything.
The boss comes out of the office. The boss says to the secretary, here are 5 typographical errors which need to be corrected. This is pretty tactful.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the thing, not the person, number 1. Second, it is specific. There are 5 errors marked. The person knows how to correct it. It's not a mystery anymore. And then it's about the future or about the correction rather than about what the person did wrong.
So though you didn't use it in this sentence, what you've actually done is taken the you to I. I'm taking
Very
responsibility to allow you to know about this.
That's right.
In a way where we can have it corrected and I can get on with my work.
That's right.
And you can get on with your work.
Put the emphasis on the positive, on the improvement, on the future, and we can state criticism to somebody in a tactful way. And that takes all of the mystery out of it. It is simply by talking about the things, not the personality, being specific, and orienting to the future. And that kind of criticism works in our families and on our jobs and with the neighbors. And it is very tactful criticism. I'm not saying people like to hear there are 5 typographical errors, but they'll roll up their sleeves and they'll do something about it. They will correct it. Whereas when they sense there is a personal attack, they get their noses out of joint. You are a sloppy typist, or you are rude, or you are inconsiderate. Those are the things that we come back fighting them. Because when anybody thinks they've been attacked, they go on the counter-attack. And that's what we're doing with these good communication skills. And you stated the magic word, responsibility. When I express an opinion to somebody, I need to take the responsibility for it. I need to have these 5 errors corrected.
So you're turning it around to where you don't say you did or didn't do something, but you make it we're in the future. Well, what if it was something you'd really like to help someone with, let's say colors for that someone was wearing, and you know, maybe because you'd been through a color analysis or whatever, you would know that that person would look so much better. For instance, my husband is winter, and he looks marvelous in stark white and black. But put gray or beige, I mean, put beige or brown on him, and he really looks older. He looks like he doesn't feel well. And how can we tell someone that we truly love, but we don't want to go to dinner with him looking 10 years older? How can we, let's use color for a little while.
Let's use color.
Okay.
Bonnie, you and I love color so much.
Would anybody ever believe that?
There are several ways to do this. Yes, we're not very drab today.
No.
But there are several ways to do this. One of my favorites in a loving and intimate relationship is to say to somebody with a question, could I make some comments on the jacket? Asking permission, they will usually give it because they're curious. And then you've got the green light from them, and I would still be very gentle. You know what I think the problem is with being tactful, that everybody hears that and they think, oh, that's for our business relationships. But we've got to be tactful at home, because people have been so brutal within the family, verbally brutal. They'll say, I'm your sister. I love you. Now let me tell you what I think of you. I'm going to dump on you. That's not fair. We still need to be tactful in the family. Here's another idea in the line of color that you were asking about. I like it when you can tell somebody the good thing and you catch them doing something right. This is a very popular phrase in management these days. Catch him doing something right. Now that is a great color on you. That white shirt, that black jacket, this just brings you out. And you can build on their positive behavior and help them to recognize that. When you talk about motivating somebody to change as to wear colors that are more flattering, they're not really going to do it unless the motivation is inside. So just by telling somebody from the outside, here's my opinion, I think it would be good for you to do this, not very effective. We need to find where their interests are and work with their self-motivation.
how would you suggest that you find out where their interests are and where their self-motivation comes from?
To learn people's interests and their self-motivation, the skill is listening. And this is another very intense training seminar on good listening skills. Listening means asking questions and then devotedly paying attention to the answers. And listening between the lines, listening to the emotions, not just to the literal words that people say. They tell you their whole story. People tell you their story with their eyes, with their pauses. That's good listening.
Listening is telling with your eyes and with their pauses. What if you are a good listener, but people take advantage of you because you are a good listener, and then you would like to get on with your work, or it could be someone on the telephone that you truly do like.
Yes.
And you don't want to hurt that person at the same time. You need to get on with it. You're ready to, you have projects, you have your to-do list, and you don't want them to go on the someday honey list. I'll get them done.
That's true, that sometimes the listening is taking too long. I have a couple of ideas on that. One is called pre-calling. And if I know that you, Bonnie, need a listener, and I want to do it, I could pre-call that and say, Bonnie, right now I have 5 minutes. What's on your mind? And I'll listen to you very, very devotedly during those 5 minutes. But I was playing fair with you at the beginning. I was being honest enough to say to you, this is the 5 minutes, and I have something else that I'm committed to do at that time. Here's a second idea. I want to listen to you, but I don't have the time right now. I say, can we make an appointment? How about tonight at 7:30? And then I can devote my time to you because I want to give you my full attention. And I give you a reason. And this kind of postponing is powerful. And I hope people aren't afraid to do it because you won't insult the other person as long as you express this is to give you the attention you deserve, and you make an appointment with them. You know, that's so much more effective than pretending to listen to them, which some people will do. And then they're just looking over the shoulder and they're backing out.
Watching their watch.
Oh, horrible. Horrible behavior to look at their watch because that suggests the time is more important than the other person. So I'd rather make the appointment with them when we know we can really go into this thing. And that way it's a mutual agreement. A lot of what works well in human interactions is where we've agreed on what's going to happen here. We've agreed, let's devote an hour to talking about this. It's important to you. I want to listen to it. I'm flattered. You need my listening. You know, listening does people more good than advice.
How do you listen between the lines? You've mentioned that a couple times.
I observe body language because we know from the communications research that the body language speaks louder than the words. In fact, sometimes there's even a contradiction. You might be listening to somebody and their words say one thing and their body says another. You know which one is true? The body is true. They might say to you in words, everything's fine, everything's just fine, and their hands are wringing and their eyes are darting all about. Their body is saying, it's not fine. And the body tells you the truth.
If you said everything's fine, if this person said everything's fine, and you read the body language, which is, what were your statistics today? 55%?
55% of communication is body language, over half.
And 38% was the tone.
That's right.
Including the dress, the clothing. And then only 7% were the actual words that were said.
Yes.
Okay, you're reading this person and you can see that they're not fine. How would you draw them out without just jumping on them and saying, well, you're saying you're fine, but I can tell that there's really something you're kind of jumping on them to, that they're saying it's fine and it isn't. How do you draw them out?
And you're right that a blaming remark would not be effective at all. It would sound very blaming to say, looks like there's something wrong with you. Or people will do this one too. They'll demand the person make eye contact. You look at me, young man. Well, this does not make friends at all. But I would ask them, Bonnie, an open-ended question. What's on your mind right now? Is there anything else you want to tell me? So I would give them just a wide open question so they have a chance to develop what's on their mind, and I'll just listen. And if they're not ready to talk about it, I respect that. They're not ready.
Now, if they say something that really upsets you, let's say, can you think of an example with a husband and wife, and the human response or reaction would be to, what do you mean we're going to move from Kansas City? You've got to be out of your mind. I am not moving from here. I have my friends established, blah, blah, blah. And he says, yes, but I've got this thing going in California and I'd like to, I'm not going to live. How do you control without criticizing him for these kinds of things that he's probably learned these skills already. But let's say a family, you know, summertime's here and moving is so normal, and lots of people don't want to move. How do you not criticize that person and get through to them?
What you've just described is a fight where one person throws out their opinion and the other person throws out their opinion, and we're moving to California and we're not moving to California. Here's the alternative method. Whoever started, we're moving to California, the other person's role is to use the open-ended question. Tell me all about it. And here we're again in the mode of I want to listen and understand before I make my response. And I listen and I hear the whole thing. Then I paraphrase back to the other partner what has been said. And you introduce the paraphrase by saying, if I have heard you correctly, you're saying that there is a raise for you in California. The standard of living or the cost of living is higher in California. Anyway, you repeat what the person has said, and when they acknowledge, that's right, you have heard me correctly, then it's my turn.
Well, let's just recap what give and receive criticism would be. Let's give those examples again. How do I give and receive criticism? And we were talking about receiving first, so let's just recap this.
Receiving criticism, look for the learning opportunity. If you look for the learning opportunity, it is there. Everybody on this planet has something to teach us. They really do. In giving criticism to somebody else, be tactful, be specific, don't blame the individual, talk about the thing that needs to be corrected, and be a good listener. You know, I find every communications subject that I'm presenting, at some point it comes right back to being a good listener. I call it the all-purpose communication skill. You cannot miss if you're a good listener.
And also, when you do come back, the technique of asking questions.
Yes.
Asking questions, because I always think of someone who's trying to really criticize you. I see them with this big balloon, and every time you ask them a question and they're able to say a little bit more about how do you mean that or what, that helps them, and pretty soon you see this little limp balloon hanging down.
It literally happens. They're full of hot air, they're upset, and then as you ask them questions and it slowly deflates. And some people call that diffusing a hot situation. You do that by asking the questions and by listening.
Well, we'll just go over some of the things, other things that are available with Career Track and with seminars that you do, in addition to the one about, I called it how to control criticism, you called it how to give
and take
criticism.
How to give and take criticism.
But image of professionalism has to do a lot with your attitude as well as your dress and the way that you are proactive. And these seminars are held all across the United States?
They are all over this country and internationally as well. So there are many seminar opportunities for people to learn these kind of skills, and it opens up the possibilities when you build your communicating ability.
That is terrific, and I love the way you had us to not only hear but write down what ideas these gave us. If you would like to know more about it, then even after Dr. Jean Lebedun leaves the Tennessee Valley area, she may be back again, or someone in her company may be back in Atlanta or Nashville or Huntsville or Birmingham. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. I love to be here.
And thank you for joining us. And be with us again on Vision Plus. I'm Bonnie Libhart. Bless your heart for watching.
In your heart and give him praise.